Now, joining me in studio is one of the speakers who was a part of the 10th annual Pro-Life Con. We share a lot in common. We've done a lot of things together. He has a new title, though, since I think he's been on since he's gotten the new title. But we've actually not been together since he received a new title of senator. And that is the new senator from the state of Oklahoma, James Lankford. James, welcome back to the program.
Very glad to be back with you.
And congratulations on your election to the United States Senate.
Thank you, I think. We'll see what we can get done there.
I think you'll be a great voice for the issues that we care about here, faith, family, and freedom. We've spent some time together. In fact, we were in Israel. We took a trip to Israel together, and so I know that we're in sync on so many different things. You, for 22 years, were in the ministry. You were one of the, actually, as I grew up in Oklahoma, one of the favorite camping spots for kids I was Baptist, and so we went to Falls Creek, and
right.
You had the privilege of serving as the director there.
I did. I was the director there 13 years total, on staff there 15 years. But yeah, it's the largest camp in America. A lot of people lose track of what's happening at Falls Creek, but it's just a great place with a long heritage of reaching a lot of families and a lot of kids, sending out a lot of missionaries and helping a lot of people understand the spiritual side of life.
Well, with that experience of dealing with kids and all the pranks that they pull and all that kind of stuff, you're perfectly fitted to be on Capitol Hill.
Well suited. If you can handle 51,000 teenagers, surely you can handle 99 senators.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this week. You were at the Pro-Life Con at FRC prior to the march. You made some comments regarding the life issue that, it's a child.
It is.
Is it a child? And if you answer that one fundamental question, a lot of these other things take care of themselves.
Correct. All of us in the pro-life community, we've said it so many times, we get tired of saying it, and we try to find other clever ways to say it, but we've got to keep coming back to the same essential question, because it's the question that has to be answered by both sides. If that is a child that matters not only to God, but matters to society. We as a society protect the most vulnerable. That's why most of our laws exist, is to protect vulnerable businesses, vulnerable people. Those are the most vulnerable in our society. Those that are completely helpless and are connected to both the love of a mom that they live inside of currently, but also the interest of a community around them that's helping watch out for them. That's what we do. That's a child. We come back to that over and over again. And
whether you have a biblical faith or not, it's still a child.
It is. It is.
It's like Paul said in Romans chapter 2. These types of things are inscribed on people's hearts because it's rooted in the nature of who we are and nature of creation and our beings as human beings.
And it is, and it's fascinating. A couple of things that come out. One is for all those Hope Pregnancy Centers and Crisis Pregnancy Centers and Life Centers that are out there across the country, they're over and over again trying to get a sonogram so they can help moms that are struggling with making this decision about abortion to be able to look inside the womb, to be able to see with their eyes what they can only feel in their bodies at that point. When you look inside and see a child sucking their thumb, you see the heartbeat, you see the head and the face, you understand that's not just tissue. That's a child. That's a living individual that is there in the body of that mom. And so that's very, very important. But it's also important to us just in our normal conversation. Once we get into the conversation with someone and they're splitting hairs, does it become a child at 20 weeks or 21 weeks or 18 weeks? At what point does it become a child inside the womb and that actually has rights and we have responsibilities as a culture? We've now moved into our turf in the conversation. They want to say it doesn't become a child until the mom decides it's a child. That's not true. We all know. No one says to someone at a baby shower, gosh, how's the fetus inside of you? Right. We all understand inherently that's a child inside that mom.
You spoke to the issue of, or at the Pro-Life Con, the discussion about technology. Of course, that's what the Pro-Life Con is all about. The 10th anniversary is about using technologies to take this message. And certainly technology has advanced our side because the facts, the truth, certainly advances a pro-life perspective. But it's more than that. You talked about the fact that we're engaged, the persistence, the fact that 42 years after the Supreme Court said that they were going to settle this issue once and for all, it's less settled today than it was in 1973.
It is actually. In 1973, there was a higher percentage of people that said they were quote-unquote pro-choice than there is today. The Supreme Court definitely has not settled this issue. In fact, since 1973, there have been over 1,000 legislative proposals put out there dealing with abortion, when prior to 73, that hardly came up because everyone just assumed this is a settled issue on it the other direction. So the American people continue to push their representatives to say, speak out for those who can't speak for themselves. That's an inherent nature of government that should do that. And people are more pro-life now than they were at that time 40 years ago. And I watch that working with students. Students are, on the whole, pro-life. and you talk to them about abortion issues, even things like at 20 weeks when they're pain capable, and many students just answering the simple question, should you do abortion? Even someone who says they're pro-choice, should you do an abortion on a child when they can feel pain? Mm-hmm. The vast majority of students would say no.
Yeah, and that was a disappointment this week, where the pain capable bill, the 5-month bill, 20-week bill. I mean, you were talking 5 months into the pregnancy when a child feels pain. That was set aside. There was some a handful of Republican, primarily women, who were opposed to a portion of the reporting requirement on that, and so the House leadership shifted to the No Taxpayer Funding of Abortion Act.
Which is also important.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. It's also important. We want to go back to the child pain bill and get that passed, but they're moving forward with the no taxpayer funding of abortion, getting us out of the abortion business, which should have never been there to begin with. What happens in the Senate now?
Well, it moves over to the Senate. We'll see where we go from there. I'm all of 2.5 weeks into the Senate at this point, so I'm learning some of the rhythm of the Senate. There are some
It's a slow rhythm.
It is a slow rhythm. It's interesting to me. We, in the 2.5 weeks, I think we've had 7 or maybe 10 votes total, not vote series, but total votes. And a typical day in the House, we'll have 10 votes in a day in the House. So it's a very, very different rhythm, as the two bodies are very, very different in their constitutional design. But in the Senate, we have some great outspoken folks for life there. Now, do we have the numbers to be able to push over the edge? I'm about to find out, because that'll be an area that I will continue to bring up and already have with Mitch McConnell and others.
Well, Mitch McConnell was supportive of the 20-week bill, the 5-month pain bill, as was Lindsey Graham, who was the lead sponsor, I believe, on that measure. He was on a little bit earlier, so this commitment is there. I hope that same commitment carries over to the no taxpayer funding of abortion, which, again, going back to this is just really getting us back to pre-Barack Obama.
That's correct.
Where when Obamacare came through, taxpayers were inscripted into being the funders of abortion.
Yeah, and you go back to the original conversations about Obamacare. The president came and promised they would make sure he had an executive order to make sure there was no taxpayer funding that would go into any abortions. And he had this whole set of gimmicks that they were putting in to be able to protect that, all of which have all gone away. You know, he completely abandoned all of those issues. And the president made a promise and then didn't fulfill it to the pro-life community. As well, the pro-life community should have seen coming.
Well, and just to refresh people's memory, it was that one issue that almost caused Obamacare not to pass.
That's correct.
We were very engaged in that debate, and the president was, I'm just going to point to the studies that have been done. He was less than honest in saying that it was not going to fund abortion. It's very clear.
I don't think he ever had an intent to ever slow down taxpayer funding for abortion, but he made the statement to get it passed, and once it was passed, then he could turn away from it from there. And so now that's one of many things that has to be undone in that.
Well, Senator, we're about out of time. I want to leave you with a chance I'm going to ask one question, and that is, as you speak to pro-lifers across this country, as Christians and others listening in on this program, what would you say to them as we still labor to make America a pro-life nation? What should they be doing?
Well, several things. One is continue focusing on the child that's developing in the womb and continue asking the questions. Show real compassion and love. These are difficult decisions for these moms. And so as we show compassion and love, we stand in stark contrast to another side that seems to be very harsh and caustic on it. Be cheerful in the way we talk about the life issues. The more we come across as angry, the more people back up from something that's true and that's right. It's amazing how people will receive a cheerful message that they won't receive in other ways. The other thing is, don't lose hope. We're right in this. We know we're right in it. People can write it off, get frustrated, and lose hope. Don't lose hope in the matter of being right. Do not grow weary in doing what's right, and continue to press that on. And there'll be a lot of new folks that are younger that need to step into the movement, because there's some folks that have done this now for 30, 40 years, that they're ready to hand the baton off and continue to fight the fight. Next generation will pick it up and we'll win it.
The truth will prevail. Senator, thanks so much for being with us.
Glad to be with y'all.
Folks, thank you for being with us on this weekend edition of Washington Watch. And let me encourage you, as the Senator said, we can be passionate. And I encourage you to be passionate. I think we should be passionate about everything that we do. But we go from victory unto victory. We're filled with hope. Therefore, we can be cheerful because we know the outcome.